Welcome to another DragonLance Saga review episode. It is Lenara's Fear's Welt the 27th. My name is Adam, and today I'm going to give you my review of Tears of the Night Sky by Linda P. Baker and Nancy Varian Berberick. I would like to take a moment and thank the DL Saga members and invite you to consider becoming a member by visiting the link in the description below, and remind you that you can always pick up DragonLance gaming materials using my affiliate links, also in the description below. Now, this is just my opinion, so if yours is different, that's okay. Leave comments in the live chat, or if you're watching this after the live, go ahead and put them in the comment section, because that's where comments belong. I will always reply at least once to them, and I like hearing what other people have to say and how we interpret these stories differently, in characters and motivations and everything. It's pretty fascinating to me. Okay, so ultimately, this is just a blanket review. It's not gonna, I don't have a pre-written review for you that goes with the story. I'm just gonna sort of go off of a reflection. But this takes place approximately 30 years after the Legends novels have ended, after the Blue Ladies War, and of course it's during the height of the Dragons of Summer Flame, where everything is unnaturally hot, crops are starting to fail, and even communication with the gods, it seems to be sort of staggering. It's not as consistent. We pick up with Crysania and her sort of friend, companion, Valen, who is this white-robed wizard, and she has him with the Temple of Paladine in order to sort of ease the potential tension between the mages, the wizards of high sorcery, and of course the Holy Order of the Stars. There's always been a bit of distrust between the two orders, specifically because of the king priest and everything that's happened after that. But in this era, she's really trying to bring people back together, which is befitting of a revered daughter of Paladine. She has taken over the Church of Paladine, and really, she's sort of in a tight spot at this point because she doesn't have the communication with her god Paladine that she once did, and she doesn't understand why. There's this massive Night of the Eye festival happening in Palanthas that she goes to attend, and she traditionally gives these words of encouragement to the people. But because crops are failing, this coming year looks really, really bad. It's so unseasonably hot in this summer of flame that she's really concerned that people are going to start starving come winter. There's just not enough of a harvest to even consider at this point. And of course, the whole thing with the gods themselves not really answering when she reaches out, but she is having dreams about Paladine, and that she, so she doesn't really feel like she's lost contact with them as much as there's something else going on that she doesn't quite understand. And then from the crowd comes this call that's Dalamar the Dark. He's, of course, master of the Tower of High Sorcery in Palanthas, and he's also noticed that the gods are not answering as clearly and concisely and regularly as the gods of magic aren't, as the other gods. And so he calls out in a disguised voice, asking, well, what does your god say about this unseasonable heat and about the failing crops? And she gives this sort of blanket answer because she doesn't really have an answer. She doesn't know what to do. The strength of this story is the legacy characters from Legends, the trilogy of novels, and a little bit of backstory from Chronicles informing the world at this time. Now, again, at the beginning of this story, the Chaos War hasn't broken out yet. And throughout the course of this story, it does in fact break out. And we end the story in the same time of the end of Dragon's Summer Flame, where the gods have left Krynn. And so it's really, really interesting to see the world events happening simultaneously to Dragon's Summer Flame that we all know and love, presumably. Not everyone loved that novel. But seeing it from a completely different perspective and a different narrative of what's going on. Crysania is approached by Dalamar, and he presents 2 dragon stones. Now, these are the dragon stones that the gods of magic bequeathed to the elves in order to defeat the dragons in the first dragon war. These are not dragon orbs. These dragon stones were not from Krynn. They were from the gods' realm, and they are these artifacts of immeasurable power. However, when the elves sort of put them in, hid them in the Calcus Calcus Mountains, I think it was, going off memory here. When the gods of magic threw them in the Calcus Mountains, and then the Second Dragon War came about, and the dragons were threatening the dwarves who had now moved into this area and discovered these dragon stones. They threatened the dwarves with extinction if they didn't deliver the dragon stones to them. And ultimately the dwarves did over a series of hundreds of years, and the dragon stones were then taken to Dark Lady Mountain. Now, Dark Lady Mountain originally was where Sanction is. There were not three different Lords of Doom, the three different volcanoes. It was one portal that allowed the Queen of Darkness to enter and leave Krynn. That's the Dark Lady Mountain. That's where it really was. And so these dragon stones were thrown into the Dark Lady Mountain and presumably exploded, releasing the souls of these dragons that were trapped from the first Dragon War. And so, the second Dragon War could happen. Now, this caused a problem, obviously, because if the dragon stones exploded, how could they possibly be in this story? And so the narrative of it is the fables said they exploded with light, and that light released the souls, but the stones themselves did not get destroyed and did not disappear. And so only some of these stones have been recovered by Dalamar the Dark, but because these stones allow a communion, as it were, for mortals to the gods, because these stones are from the gods, Dalamar can't actually use these two. What he's hoping is that if he can get all five of them together, he'll be able to commune with the gods, or at least understand why his power is failing, why the gods of magic are not responding as they have traditionally with power. And it's a really interesting setup. It's a really interesting premise. So he tells her, look, I'm going to give you these two dragon stones as a gift of faith. I want you to go recover the other ones to find out why the gods are acting the way that they are, or not responding in the way that we expect them to. And Crysania, being who she is, agrees, because, she wants to understand what's happening just as much as Dalamar does, though she is a little bit worried about, he's a black robe wizard, why is he giving them to her? Is there things that she doesn't know about? Which of course there are, but ultimately she accepts. Now, Valen, the white robe wizard that's sort of in love with her, straight up tells her, I'm in love with you. And she is, of course, married to Paladine, symbolically in the church. So she sort of rebuffs him. She's like, I can't be involved in that way with you. And this sort of turns him, sort of upset and sort of scorned, as it were. He's approached by Dalamar, and Dalamar's like, look, dude, I can get you close to Crysania on this mission, because Crysania was going to send him to Calaman to find out what's going on over there, because there's rumors of these armies amassing. Of course, we know that that's the Knights of Takhisis with the Tarmac warriors. This army amassing on the, what would that be? The eastern side of Ansalon, right? But he doesn't want to go. He wants to stay with Crysania because he's in love with her. And so Dalamar offers him the opportunity of being changed into a white tiger in order to stay with her, so she doesn't know that he hadn't gone to Calaman, but he could then travel with her to Nuraka, where the other 5 stones or other 3 stones are rumored to be. Now, how do they know the other 3 stones are in Nuraka? I don't know. Nuraka's not at Sanction. That's where the Lords of Doom were. That's where the stones were dropped off. So apparently Dalamar knows something about the stones being recovered and taken and sealed in Neraka. But at the end of the War of the Lance, Nuraka, the Temple of Nuraka, was supposed to have been destroyed mostly, right? That's what we were told. So there's a little bit of discord of the narrative there as well. So how did the stones get from the Lords of Doom into Nuraka? Because it's not in the same exact place. It's actually further north and through mountainous terrains and stuff. And then how is Crysania supposed to just waltz right into this Nuraka area, which is the den of all evil, and then take these 3 stones? So before Valen is offered this chance to be with her through Dalamar, he consents, but not before he sends off this imp to go contact his brother and his brother's wife. Now, it doesn't say that Valen's from Kyrnn. He says he's a desert human, but it kind of means he's from Kyrnn, in my opinion. But they never actually mention it, which is a little bit weird. A little bit of world building goes a long way. So if you name names of locations, it connects us more with the story than if you just say, he's a desert barbarian human. In any case, he reaches out. His brother and his brother's wife are coming. His brother's a great warrior. His brother's wife is a wizard. And so they're going to help travel with Crysania on the way in order to protect her as she travels to Neraka. Now she has this big white tiger. And this is where the story takes a very Beauty and the Beast turn. Or you could also say it's a Little Mermaid turn. Because Vaylin had to make this deal with Dalamar in order to go with Crysania. But Dalamar's using Vaylin, as he turns him into this white tiger, to report back on everything that happens, so Dalamar knows exactly what's going on with the Dragonstones, where they are, what's happening with the world. It's just another way of Dalamar staying connected to happenings all over the world in this summer of chaos. And so ultimately, Crysania leaves with the tiger and the brother and the wife, and then of course this other person I can't remember, is like a dwarf or something like that, another priest I think it is. So they're all traveling. They run across Palin and Steel, Brightblade, as they're coming north to Palanthas and the High Clerist's Tower. They run into Tanis Half-Elven and talk to him a little bit about his going up to the Tower of High Sorcery. The High Clerist's Tower. And the world events are all happening all around them. They run across these Tarmac scout warriors, which are, sort of forward soldiers from the greater Knights of Takhisa's army that's sweeping across Ansalon at this time, dominating everyone. The gods are all presumably in the heavens, communing with each other, trying to determine how are we going to deal with this great new problem with the Grey Gem being opened up by the Arda Ogres. But this story does not deal directly with those events, just tangentially as world events are happening. And I think there's a real strength in that, because we're not taken out of this narrative. We are immersed in it. It's just we understand what's happening in the world around us at the same time at these different mile markers. And I actually really appreciate that, because again, it's immersion. So they ultimately get to Nuraka, and they see that the temple has been rebuilt or regrown into some a bit. Not entirely. And they go in, and it's actually inhabited by draconians, of course. And it would be interesting if Chaos was never released, what would have happened here. Because they're clearly rebuilding the Temple of Neraka in order, which was, of course, going to be the new gateway for Takhisis to re-enter Krynn. So is there going to be another opportunity of Takhisis coming back? Anyway, they get there. They find the other 3 stones. And they have to flee and run away. They ultimately decide, and they're losing people along the way, of course, because of the Tarmac warriors are brutal. This massive gold dragon helps travel them around on different places during different times as it's going off to fight the war of chaos as well. It's all really, really high fantasy, peak Dragonlance, great storytelling. And Nancy Varian Berberick is awesome at writing. So I'm not as familiar with Linda P. Baker, but every time I see a story from Nancy V. Berberick, I know it's going to be good. She's got, I think, a couple duds, but for the most part, everything is packed full of emotion, and this story is nothing shy of that. Again, really fantastic read. So they're running away from Nuraka, evading everyone, and Keela, the wizard sister that's married to Gerald, which is Vaylin's brother that he summoned from Kyrnn, presumably, tries to actually take the stones away, and then she's ultimately defeated. They get to God's home, and we have this sort of reliving of events from the Dragons of Spring Dawning about Tanis losing Flint, and we get this really great emotional appeal, and we see the gods' stars in the sky, and then they sort of blink out. She puts down the dragon stones, because now she has all 5 of them in order to commune with the gods, and only Takhisis answers. And she demands of Takhisis to bring about Paladine. If the gods are not gone, he has to come and talk to her, and Fizban ends up coming out and talking to her. And this is sort of in parallel with the end of the Chaos War, because it's the same type of a conversation that Fizban has with Palin at the very end. You know, like there's now an Age of Mortals type deal. He basically says that the gods have to leave and that the mortals will be left to their own devices. This decimates her because she spent her entire life in honor of his glory. Like, her whole life has been nothing but trying to serve this god who is now leaving her. She gets her sight back momentarily, only to witness that the skies have changed. We, of course, know what happened through the Age of Mortals, but she doesn't know in this moment. And then the only way that Valen can turn back from a white tiger into his human form again is if she says that she loves him. But why would she do that to a tiger? So it's sort of this trick, right? Very Beauty and the Beast, very Little Mermaid. Ultimately, she's having, because they have this telepathic communication between each other. She has this communication with him saying, look, I'm going to go help you. I'll tear down the Tower of High Sorcerer brick by brick if I have to find the spell book that Dalamar made to turn you into this tiger, and I will do everything I can to turn you back into human. And he's like, why? She's all, because I love you. And then suddenly he turns back into a human, and they are connected now in their love for each other. Him, his utter and pure devotion to her and protecting her and caring for her, and her, the discovered love and through actions that he has for her. Not just his declaration of love, but him literally putting life and limb and care and support to her on this impossible of missions that she had just completed. It was a beautiful ending, and they actually end up having, well, making love, as, you know, they write it. So she has sex for the first time, which is, you know, just awesome because sex is pretty awesome. And it's just nice seeing that she has finally now this new connection. We get this arc of character development from Crysania in Legends, which is fantastic. And now we get to see another character arc. Her loss of her faith, her fear of the loss of her god, and then the stark absence of her god after he acknowledges that he just cannot stay here and give up their godly divine creation, which is mortals in the world, to chaos. And so they have to leave. And in the absence of what she spent her whole life, she is finally able to connect with the one thing that she has always shunned for her god. And that's another mortal's love and the connection that we can have with each other. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. If you're a romantic at heart, if you love Crysania's character, and if you just want to know what happens to her and how her story is intertwined with the Chaos War, I highly recommend you pick up this novel and read it. It's written really well. It's wildly entertaining. It has some great moments throughout that connect you to other characters that we love as well, but it also gives us a view of what's happening in the Chaos War that is separate from everything. So it's just happening tangentially. It's a beautiful story, and I highly recommend it to anyone who loves Dragonlance. So that is my review. Hey, Silver Fox, or Silver Wolf, how you doing, man? You never knew what happened to Lady Crysania after the Dragons of Summer Flame? Yeah, it's actually pretty interesting. Again, a little bit derivative because of Beauty and the Beast, and it is overt, but I don't mind it. You know, I liked Beauty and the Beast as a story. I liked Little Mermaid as a story, and so having that version of a tale in Dragonlance, that's not a negative to me. Hey, the Nook, how you doing, man? Thank you very much. So, yeah, that's going to do it for my review of Tears of the Night Sky by Linda P. Baker and Nancy Varian Berberick. What did you think of the Dragonstone's MacGuffin? Did you buy Valen's decision of turning into a tiger? And finally, how do you feel about the end of the story? Feel free to email me at info@dlsaga.com or leave a comment below. I would like to take a moment and remind you to subscribe to this YouTube channel, ring the bell to get notified about upcoming videos, and click the like button. This all goes to help other Dragonlance fans learn about this channel and its content. I also want to take a second and let you know about my new project. I just had my first actual play last night with it. I've been developing a system-agnostic dark fantasy campaign setting called Direlands. You can learn more about it on my Evil Live Play YouTube channel. The link is in the description below. This channel is all about celebrating the wonderful world of the DragonLance Saga, and I hope you'll join me in that celebration. Thank you for watching. This has been Adam with DragonLance Saga, and until next time, Slanjavar.